Welcome to Jets Rewind. This is Marty Shupak in Valley Cottage, New York, and I'm joined by Ray Clifford as he changes his hat. And we're recording this on Monday, uh, September 27th. It's at right around 7 p.m. Ralph Schrager isn't here tonight. Ray, how you doing tonight?
Uh, Better than I was last night.
Same
But
line.
I changed that hat to save it for a later game, and it'll make more sense.
That was the same line you used last week.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to give everyone my reaction to the game, and then we'll hear from Ray. We'll try to go through as much as we could. I couldn't watch the whole thing, Ray. To be perfectly honest, I know you probably did. So
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
you'll carry the show more than me, but I just want to start out by saying that I'm I'm of the opinion now, and I've stuck up for him that, and we'll get into the coaching staff a little bit later, but Robert Saleh seems like a good guy. He might become a very good head coach one day, but right now he's not doing a good job. And if you watch that game, you'll see different things that give you indications that he's just really not doing a good job as a head coach. And a lot of the things on the field will reflect the head coach. And just to name a few, they had that delay of game right at the time of the field goal, and he had made the field goal as you said, Ray, it looked like if you would have had him do it again the way he made it go away. But they took points off the board, and for everyone on the field and for the coach and staff not to recognize that and just take a timeout is inexcusable. That field goal, I'm not going to say it could have changed the momentum, but it could have helped slow it down right at that point. After that delay game, I thought that really the game was over. Another item that I think really reflects the coach, why we are taunting a guy on a fair catch, I will never know. And how in the world did Robert Saleh, how could he ever accept something like that and really not call the guy out? It's beyond belief. The other thing is, and in addition to the taunting, some of these untimely penalties are just unbelievable. If you've been a Jet fan as long as Ray and I, you know that the Jets have a propensity for extended drives. If the opposition has something like 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 22, they'll get a first down by some miracle pass, or the Jets will have a pass interference. And it's the same thing over and over again. And the other thing that really bothered me, Ray, I thought it was such a mistake leaving Zach Wilson in the game at the end. The guy was getting obliterated, and he is not going to last the year the way it's going. And, it's funny because I watch his press conferences, and if you go back like 2 years ago to Sam Darnold, they're like the same thing. He's saying the exact same thing. I think the Jets PR guy is giving him the same lines. We got to try better. We're making progress. It doesn't show in the field. I got to do a better job. It's the same thing over and over again. And the last, I just want to say that having to watch that game is kind of insulting for the whole organization. And I really stuck up for Robert Saleh, and I thought they had a chance against this team. And Ray, I'm going to close out by saying, in retrospect, looking back, I mean, the Jets, they were so overmatched and really had no right to be on the field with that team, which is just unbelievable. So the sour taste in my mouth is getting more sour, not by the game, but really by the minute or daily, just seeing what's transpiring. And we're going to get into some exact quotes and the press conference of our head coach. But Ray, why don't you give everyone your immediate reaction to the game that we had to witness, the Jets losing 26-0?
Well, first, in response to your about Saleh and thinking he should rip the guy. He even said in his initial press conference, he's not the kind of coach who's going to get in a player's face on the sideline and call him out right there. He'll talk to him on the side. So I'm under the assumption that he had a talk with him and hopefully he ripped him at that point. I mean, it doesn't do a lot for the fans to see nothing being said to him, but I can't believe he let that go without a talking to, and we'll see, we'll see if that results in anything or not. The worst thing about that was, why are you taunting a guy when you're down 17-0? Not only was it a punt and a fair catch, but it's, you were losing the game badly at that point. Everything that we did well last week looks like we regressed this week. The defense wasn't as good. Now you could point to a lot of things on that. The offensive line didn't open up holes for much running again. So, pretty much running the ball was out of the question. They did try some short passes. One of the, and I've been calling for them to call a screen pass, and they ran one of the worst screen passes I ever saw when he dumped it off to, I think it was Carter. It was either Carter or Johnson. There were three Broncos standing in front of him. I was like, well, okay, let's practice screens, or we got to go another route. But it was frustrating to say the least. Once again, we are not putting together any kind of a sustained drive. I mean, it's right now a drive for us is a first down, if we're lucky, 2, and then fizzle out and punt. That's most of our drives are 3 and out. So if we get a first down, it's like a sustained drive right now. If we can't run and we can't pass block, that leaves so many areas to point fingers. Saleh is learning on the job, and so is Lefleur. And Lefleur has to really, really look at himself. Zach is, again, I still have faith that Zach is going to turn into a good quarterback. But right now, to me, the sure signs that he's not confident is he doesn't look settled in the pocket. When he does have a guy, even if he's under a little bit of pressure, when he has a guy open on a curl pattern, out pattern, he's bouncing it to him. His arm is far too strong to be throwing that short. It tells me he's just feeling like he's under pressure. He's not settled, and he's not stepping into the pass. He's throwing off his back foot a lot still. I just think he's gonna, hopefully we don't crush his confidence, because you see him sitting on the bench. He doesn't look confident either. He doesn't look like anything but just kind of maybe frustrated and a little bit over his head. But you could say that about a lot of guys, and Saleh is one, Lefleur is the other. I still think Ulbrich did a decent job, and yeah, the defense wasn't as good as last week, but you know what? When you have that many rookies in the backfield, you're going to have a good week and you're going to have a bad week, and it's just going to go like that for a while. Quinnen Williams showed up, so there was, every so often there were some bright spots. Quincy Williams made the literally worst attempt of a tackle I ever saw, when he whiffed on a guy by 2 yards on a pass that he could have had the guy stopped for no gain or maybe even a loss, and he missed him so badly the guy went down the field about 40 yards. And there's so many things that didn't go well, but I think the biggest frustration was the field goal. Amendola has a big leg, and he made that field goal easily. 5 yards, if he hits it the same way, is not going to make a difference. They might as well start taking some chances. I think even the fan base would be like, I'd rather see you take risk than do what you're doing now, which is play it safe and 3 and out and hope your defense can get them off the field and get another shot. Just start taking some risks and see what you can accomplish. But 3 points wouldn't have changed the game, but it would have changed the attitude. It would have made them feel a little better.
Like I said, it would have changed the momentum. It would have slowed it down, and what happen.
And the following punt went into the end zone, so it was like a
Yeah,
But a 30-yard punt,
it usually happens. Ray, Zach Wilson, when you look at it, in 3 games, he's had one good half.
Yeah.
The second half against Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Jet fans realize that. And I want to ask you, we touched upon it last week, how most teams now have like their first 10 or 15 plays scripted. It's based on what they saw during the week. They have meetings, they work these 18, 20 hours a day. But Ray, our first half drives are just like nothing. It's just unbelievable. And I had a whole segment on him last week, and I'll say it again. Greg Van Routen, this guy is awful, the right guard. He gets pushed back. He looks like he's playing on roller skates.
Yeah.
They're just pushing him back. But Ray, what is it? I mean, is Mike Lefleur over his head at this point? I know you say he's learning on the job, but it's going from bad to worse right now.
Yeah, he's learning the hard way, but in a little bit of his defense, he's faced 3 good defenses, and that's a tough way to start. He got a bunch of softballs in the preseason, which I think gave him a false sense of security and knowing what he was doing. I don't doubt that he scripted 15 plays, but if you do a 3 and out, so much for the script. You got to get rolling. You got to get a first down. You got to get things going. And then, and as the game goes on and we get further behind, they aren't going for play action, fake the handoff and drop back. We're just playing straight up and we're going to come after you. And so a lot of the stuff that might work if you get sustained drives aren't going to work when you're doing a bunch of 3 and outs and before you know it, you're behind 17-0 or whatever. So
this team cannot come back, and on the road it's impossible to come back. It's just unbelievable. Ray, how many drop passes did you count? You saw every play.
I was thinking it was 3 or 4. Then
Barrios. Now the interception kind of went through his hands. They didn't show that in slow motion. The question is, could he have caught that? Number one. Number two, did Zach put too much on him to catch it?
I mean, it wasn't like a short pass. So what's too much on it when you're 15 yards down the field or more, 15, 20 yards down the field? He throws a hard ball, and that's fine that he did. It was high. It did go through his hands, though. With those gloves that those guys wear, I don't know how we drop. I believe there was, and I wouldn't call Barrios a drop because it was a high, hard one. So it went through his hands. Davis had a few drops. Ty Johnson had a couple drops. Michael Carter, I believe, had a drop, and that one would have been a big play. I mean, there were some pretty important drops. This isn't all on Zach. It isn't all on the receivers. I mean, those aren't the one that went through Barrios's hands was not an easy catch. But at the same time, these guys have gloves that if anybody ever goes to a sporting goods store like Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever the big sporting goods store is in your area, go into the sporting, the area of football and put on the gloves and then just feel how tacky they are. I don't know how they drop a ball, to be honest with you. I'm not nearly as impressed with the one-handed catches as I used to be once I saw how these gloves work. Now, so yeah.
Corey Davis, I mean, what's going on with this guy? I mean,
he wasn't, nobody was sure what he was in Tennessee for sure. He didn't come out of there as a stud.
All we heard in preseason was the chemistry.
Yeah.
Corey Davis and Zach Wilson are developing. And then when it comes to the season, this guy is dropping balls left and right. And they're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah, he's dropped a few, but he's not getting open like he was either. And I would say that is another symptom of the preseason where we faced a bunch of backups and even in practices when he's going against the Jets rookie cornerbacks as compared to now, he's facing the number 1 quarterback on every team. And these guys, these 3 defenses are good defenses. I'm not sold that Denver's as good a team as 3-0. Let's face it. The 3 teams they've beaten are a combined 0-9 this year. So they
Right.
haven't exactly faced the
Yeah.
toughest competition either. So
Right. You know what I'd love to see, and Rich Cimini could probably do it with his next gen stats that he loves. I would love to see like the last 10 years, the average quarterback rating for the Jets and for the Jets opponent's quarterback. It's amazing how good they let their
yeah,
quarterbacks look. I mean, if you look at it, Teddy Bridgewater, another former Jet, 19 for 25, 235 yards. He had a quarterback rating of 104.6, and he looked really good to me. And also, he rushed 4 times for 24 yards. And it's amazing that we had him on the team. I don't want to get into Sam Darnold. They're both 3-0, but it just is just unbelievable what's going on. But what's your feeling on how good the Jets make their opposing quarterbacks look?
well, like you say, over the last, I don't remember how many years you said, 10, 20 years. I mean, I used to get so frustrated. Somebody'd be playing some crappy backup, and we made, what's his name, who, well, he was on the Eagles in the preseason. That was the backup in San Fran. We made him look great last year. We made Matt Barkley look like a Hall of Famer. We made Gardner Minshew look like a Hall of Famer. So we have a knack for doing that again, especially when they're backups. It's unbelievable. But I will say, in Teddy Bridgewater's case, he came back from a horrific injury, and I thought the Jets did him a really good thing by, bringing him on the team, letting him, try out play. That is the reason he got his shot down in New Orleans, which got him his shot in Carolina, which has him there. He was a good quarterback. So the fact that he ran for 20 some yards tells you his knee is a lot better because he's mobile, and he made some good. One time he was about to be sacked by, I don't remember who, and he spun and he knew he had his receiver over in the flat, by him in the flat, and he spun and threw it towards him at his feet just to get an incomplete instead of a sack. He's a smart quarterback, and he's got talent. So he doesn't bother me as much as some of the others have over the years.
He made a couple of nice passes to this receiver, Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
Remember that? And I mean, I think it was
except the one down by the end zone that Echols just got
right.
beat on.
But yeah, but I thought when one play, I think they had Bryce Hall on him. I could be wrong, and he was glued to him, and Teddy Bridgewater literally just laid it in there. Just so everyone knows, I'm sure they do, Jet fans, that Elijah Moore is in the concussion protocol, and that has a lot of implications. I know Jet fans are chomping at the bit for Denzel Mims, so they might get to see him this week against the Titans. Tyler Croft has some bruised ribs, so a weak tight end position could get weaker. I don't know what they're going to do. Ray, did anyone at all, I know we didn't score any points, before we get to the defense, did anyone at all stand out to you on the Jets on offense? Anyone?
Well, I would have said that if they'd let Amendola kick again and he hit a 60 whatever yard of, yeah, that would have. No, I can't really say that anybody stood out. I mean, there's a guy here and there made a play, but nobody did anything that really made me go, wow, they're really having a good game. I understand the Mims thing, but I think it's time to either decide, get him in the game and see if he's going to make a difference or trade him. Because what I'm understanding is they are getting some trade requests.
They are getting inquiries. Yeah,
you know what? If you're not going to keep him, get rid of him and get some draft picks. I bet you could get a pretty good draft pick for him too. Even though he's been sitting out, I bet it wouldn't be a late rounder. So
probably, I'm guessing it would be a
third or a fourth, I bet.
Yeah, probably. Ray, on defense, a couple of players I think stood out. Quinnen Williams, CJ Mosley was active, but did he have a real good game in your opinion?
He was okay. He could have had the guy down at the end zone there that scored. He had him, and whether or not they would have scored eventually anyway, I don't know. But he was mad at himself. He kind of pounded the ground. He let the guy run through his tackle and he got in the end zone. But, you know, CJ Mosley, I didn't think the DBs were horrific the whole game, but they were horrific at times.
Right.
You know, in general, Franklin Myers didn't have a good game. He got a couple penalties, I think. And then Marcus May didn't have a great game either. He wasn't, you know, he had a right after the stupid taunting penalty, he got a face mask. It was a legit face mask though. So
that's on top of a penalty he got last week where he got fined $14,600.
for what was that one for? The horse collar.
Horse collar.
That wasn't an iffy call, but you know, that was from the side, which is kind of a weird horse collar. It wasn't like he was trailing the guy. He just grabbed the back of his shoulder pads from the side, though.
Right. In the secondary, did Michael Carter, the number 2, the second, do anything to either stand out or do something stupid? I mean, a lot of times when you don't hear or see a defensive back's name, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, kind of like when it was Desir. If I didn't hear his name all game, I would have thought he had a great game.
Let's not bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember him doing anything special. I don't remember him getting burned really bad either. But you know, it was the usual. You know, if they needed.
It just seems like our quarterbacks, Zach Wilson can't get comfortable in the pocket. Whoever we play is comfortable as soon as the ball is snapped, as soon as we start the game, which is very, very annoying.
It is annoying, but it speaks to pressure. If there's no pressure, they're feeling comfortable back there. If Teddy Bridgewater's running around for his life, we probably end up with a pick or two because he's probably throwing one a little earlier than he wants to.
Ray, what are we going to do about the offensive line? I mean, what can we do at this point?
What can we do?
Do we try Feeney in for Van Routen? Do we take a chance like that?
He looked so bad in the preseason. I can't imagine he'd be better. But Van Routen, I mean, well, you know, I think that's a wait till next year thing, unless they can somehow, you know, maybe a Denzel Mims for a lineman trade would work, but I doubt it'd happen. I don't think anybody's getting rid of any linemen that are anything. So
not at this point.
You know, we have limited, if any, possible. Our possibility was in free agency in the draft, and I won't say it was a complete whiff because I still think Vera Tucker is going to turn into a good guard. I mean, it's just, you know, I think
he didn't have a great game though.
No, he didn't. He's struggling too, but
right.
You know, he's had no preseason and he's in his third game. He's played with 2 different guys on the line. I mean, it just takes time. That they showed signs last week that they can do it sometimes. So, you know, it's just got to be a consistent thing. Van Routen said, you know, I think we all heard that Van Routen said Zach's got to get rid of the ball quicker. Well, sometimes he's right, but you know, that also falls on the coaches. If you're calling a longer pass play, well, you know, it's funny. I was listening to the Jets broadcast rather than the national TV one because I was getting tired of Spiro Dumbbell. He's a terrible announcer for me. Anyway, so I'm listening to Bob Wischusen and Marty Lyons, and Marty kept saying the same thing that we've said in things. Get him out of the pocket. Get Zach out of the pocket. He's good on the run. He'll be, you know, when you have a guy sitting in the pocket and he feels like he's a dead duck, I can't imagine he feels real comfortable back there, you know, but he doesn't seem to sense when the pressure's too much. He seems to make his move to get out of there about a half second too late. A lot of times the guy's right there by the time he makes that move. So at some point, you know, if he's going to be in the pocket, you got to call quicker pass plays. And Van Routen's right. That's a get the ball out of there or get yourself out of there, but don't hang on to it too long.
Has there been any permanent damage done in 3 games to Zach Wilson? Or if not, do you think it's trending that way? And at what point do we sit him like they sat Sam Darnold that first year?
Well, I don't think it's permanent. I don't think 3 games in it's permanent. But like I said, you could see his demeanor. I think he's a little frustrated. I think he's a little feeling a little lost. There's not a comfort zone out there for him. And he doesn't have that kind of, he doesn't, bounce in his step like he's excited and he's having fun. And that's a bad thing. It could turn into something permanent. I mean, you don't want him to be David Klingler and get the crap beat out of him until he's just lost every bit of confidence. And I said it earlier, what's scaring me is that he's not stepping into his passes. He's bouncing passes that he should be getting that to the guy. And that tells me he's not stepping into his throw like he should be. And we've seen him throw off his back foot numerous times, and I don't like that, because then the ball floats, and that's led to a lot of problems already too. So, isn't Kavanaugh our quarterback coach?
Yes, I believe he
Can we
is.
hire him?
Yeah, Matt Kavanaugh.
I think he's got some work to do too, to kind of work with him.
And I like him. Ray, how bad are the Jets at this point? Are they the worst in the league? Are they, it's between them and the Jaguars?
Well, no, if we played the Jaguars right now, we get whipped.
That's what I think. I as bad as Trevor Lawrence is playing, I think he's like leaps ahead of Zach Wilson.
I want to say that the stat I heard on the TV, if I'm not mistaken, was Jacksonville's lost their 3 games by a total of 18 points. Okay, we've lost our 3 by what?
A lot more.
Yeah, we've only scored 6 points in the last 2 games. Jacksonville's got more talent on offense, and our offense is why we're as bad as we are. Our defense isn't great, but it's far from horrid at this point. But if we keep them on the field every game as long as we are, it's going to turn horrid, because they're going to get frustrated and they're going to lose their edge too at some point. We can't keep this up. They gotta feel like they're playing for something. And right now, the only thing we're playing for is a win.
Right.
And I do think if they can just, if the coaching staff can get it together, that if they can just get the offense going enough to, score some points, everything will kind of start looking up. But until I see an offense on the field, it's hard to feel like you got a chance in a game. I mean, 2 field goals in the last 2 games, and they were all last week.
Yeah. Ray, and I wrote when I was doing the agenda, and actually someone had mentioned it today, and I think they stole it from me on WFAN. The one line I'm so sick of hearing is, well, he had a great week of practice, or we had a great week of practice.
Yeah.
That line, Ray, it just rubs me such a wrong way. I can't describe it to you. It doesn't mean a thing to me anymore. It doesn't. No. It really doesn't show anything that they had a great week of practice.
No.
Does that mean they're pretty good playing against their teammates? I don't even know what that means, but how do you feel? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And again, I don't want to harp on a first-year coach, but some of these cliches are starting to wear thin with me. And
you're in New York. It's gonna wear. He's learning that the honeymoon is shorter in New York than probably just about anywhere else, and because especially with a team that's been starving for a competitive team for a decade now, and so I think he was warned, though. He's got a short leash, and I think he knows. I mean, you saw it last week. He has some fire in him. So he's not this mellow coach who's always going to be, even keel. He might be in press conferences, but I have no doubt that when it comes to practices and in the locker room, he's a little more fired up and wants to get these guys going. But the only thing the players will respond to is results, just like the fans.
Ray, and I mentioned it. I want to hear your opinion. Did you think they should have kept him in that fourth quarter?
No.
Keep going back and passing? I mean, what would you have done? Put in Mike White, just tell him to run the ball?
I would have put White in when it went from what did it go, 17 to 24 or 17 to 20?
23, I think it was, whatever it
23.
was. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I just think
I would have gone with White because really, and I get a little irritated with the national media sometimes. They talk about Sam and his picks and his sacks, but both those picks, and I'm
you talking
pretty
about
sure
Sam or
2 or
Zach?
3 of the sacks were
You mentioned you said Sam. Do you mean Zach?
Zach. I'm sorry.
No, no, we're going to do it all year, but go ahead.
I know. Yeah. I'm sorry. But his 2 picks were in the last few minutes.
Garbage time.
Yeah. And so were a couple of the, at least 2 of the sacks, I'm pretty sure were all there. So, when you start going, well, he's now tied for the league lead in interceptions. Okay. It was desperation time. They're chucking the ball down the field, trying to, make something happen, and then the defense, they know that's what's coming. So they aren't, worried about any, handoffs or anything. So they're just coming after him. So these, some of these stats aren't really that valid when it's that point in the game. Yeah, the picks bother me, but last week's picks bothered me more because they were 3 of them were in the first half, and the 4th one was early in the second half. So they were while the game was still in reach. These ones didn't bother me. The sacks bothered me because that's when I say he shouldn't be in there, and that's you don't need to get him injured or just kill his psyche because he's getting sacked again and again.
Ray, we're going to close this out, and thank you so much because again, you are more devoted than me. You could sit through it and watch every game. It's just, to me, it's so hard. But I just want to go back to our last show, and I had mentioned to you. Remember, the trivia question was the quarterbacks that were on both teams.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and I missed one. I apologize to the fans. There was a 7th. It was Mark Sanchez. He actually was on the Denver Broncos 2016, though he never played a game for them. So there've been 7 quarterbacks that have actually been on both teams, not necessarily play to play, but they've been on both teams. So anyway, anything else you want to add, Ray, before we close this out?
Well, don't we have Tennessee this week?
We have Tennessee. It's
not going to get any easier. It's going to be, they're just going to have to bear down and try and clean things up. And I think the biggest thing will be if we can get an early score, you might just see a team that acts a little differently on the field. But first thing is score it all. And second is try and get one early.
Yeah, we haven't been in the lead in 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, right? No. So, all right, for Jets Rewind, we're going to do a preview show later in the week. We have to schedule it. It's a very tight week for our next game, which is the Tennessee Titans at home. And hopefully MetLife will be rocking. Don't give up on the team yet. Again, I could be the most negative Jet fan out there, and I'm highly critical of them. But, I still bleed green. So for Ray Clifford and Marty Shupak and JetsRewind.com, until next time.